I want to spend just a few minutes explaining the way that the mentoring is structured for the EXITO project. And then we will have a panel in about half an hour. So this is a little bit of an introduction. So when we introduce people and their roles with EXITO, you have an understanding. And then after the panel, we'll follow up with some of the more detailed elements of what you will be doing as part of the program as an EXITO scholar. Some more practical pointers and some procedures that we use. So just for my part, I want to talk about mentoring as a concept, and then again introduce the EXITO mentoring model, our panel discussion, and then review of mentoring skills and activities, and some of the things we've heard from our scholars so far about the mentoring. So I do my own research apart from EXITO on youth mentoring programs, Big Brothers Big Sisters, YMCA, things like that. So it's a little bit different for where you are. In my area, we're talking about adults being matched with young people. So it's pretty clear who's the mentor and who's not. But here at PSU, I've been working with colleagues that study mentoring in all its forms across the life course. So some of us focus on youth mentoring programs, some of us focus on mentoring in higher education. That's relevant to EXITO, and some talk about mentoring in the workplace, when you're starting out a job and you're getting onboarded and you have somebody showing you the ropes. So we were trying to think about what makes mentoring something distinctive across all of those settings, all of those ages, and so forth. And so a colleague and I used some dimensions to define relationships that are more general than mentoring. Other folks that study relationships came up with these terms, and we just applied them to mentoring. So it's pretty simple grid here, and the idea is that some relationships are obligated by social convention, and you're going to have that relationship just because you can't avoid it or because you need it. So, you know, your family relationships, you're always going to be cousins with that person, right? Or teacher, right? You're a student, they're a teacher, you both have to be in those roles whether or not you like each other. Sometimes it's a boss, an employee. So we're obligated by that social role. Then there are relationships that are voluntary, right? That you are engaging in by choice, right? Your friends, your partners, your peers. And so that's one dimension. The other is equal or unequal in terms of experience, knowledge, influence, resources, all of those things. So the thing is that we're very comfortable or knowledgeable about certain kinds of relationships that are vertical relationships, right? So these are sort of authority relationships where there's one person who's clearly got more power or influence, and again, you're going to be in that role regardless. So a parent, child, or a boss and an employee, a teacher, student. Then we're also familiar with these horizontal relationships, right? That are the ones where we're doing it by choice. We have those partners, those peers, those colleagues, and so it's a horizontal relationship. So the tricky thing about mentoring is that it's kind of a balance between those two, right? I mean, the idea is that the mentor is more advanced in some way, has some knowledge or wisdom or experience to share, so they provide that developmental platform, but it's really a voluntary relationship, right? It's happening because the mentor is, like Jennifer said, willing to invest in you, cares about you, is going over and above. And again, you are getting something from it. So it's one of those voluntary relationships. So it's tricky because it's a balancing act, right? It has to be good for both of you. It has to be reciprocal, but there is that kind of imbalance where one person is the mentor and the other is the mentee. So this is often tricky, where we tend to fall into one of these other roles that we know better, either as the buddy or the boss, right? So keeping that in mind, when you're in the EXITO mentoring relationships, we actually have 3 different types of mentoring, and they sort of mirror these. So in our model, we feel like it's important to have a few different mentors because they can serve different functions, right? So we have peer mentors who provide a campus connection. They are advanced students who are a few steps ahead of you, who can help you figure out, how to make the most of your experience in school. They know about good professors, which classes, where to find the pizza on campus, things like that. So they're just very knowledgeable about those things because they've just been through it themselves. And they can provide that student perspective and serve as a role model and sort of a guide as you navigate school. Then we have faculty mentors who we call career mentors. These are more general purpose advisors who have that larger perspective. They've been down the same road, but even further, and they can provide advising and support across multiple domains you might experience as a student. So they can help with academic issues, choosing majors, choosing courses, career topics, thinking further down the road, what are the opportunities in these fields, and also could be helping with personal issues, like if you have a problem with financial aid, maybe they know who's in the financial aid office and can give you a referral. So it's a sort of a multi-purpose role, and it's really focused on you and your current needs. And then the research mentor is more like a job situation where you're in a research learning community, and this is the person who is more like your immediate supervisor, providing that kind of training on specific things you need to do on the research project. So this could be the principal investigator, the leader of the project. It could be another faculty member or a postdoc or a grad student. And again, they're teaching skills and habits needed to be successful on that project. So just to go a little bit deeper on the peer mentors, again, that's an advanced student, an undergraduate in most cases, and they will be matched to you, so you'll know who your peer mentor is, but the kind of contact you have with them could vary depending upon which site you're at. So for PSU, for example, the peer mentors are very involved in the enrichment workshops. So every Friday when students show up for the enrichment, the peer mentors are there. The peer mentors often are leading those sessions, and then they can hang out afterwards, and so there's that kind of weekly contact around the time when you're all going to be together anyway. In other places, it may be that you go and spend more one-on-one time with the peer mentor, go out for coffee or talk in the library or something like that. So again, peer mentor is sharing their advice from what they've experienced so far in college. And again, this could cover a range of topics. It could be, again, about where to find daycare on campus, where to park, where to do things like that, or about choosing classes and who are the best professors, so forth. But it is really student-focused. The peer mentors are there to learn about you and what's happening with you, what your goals are, and how they can support it. So it's a relationship-focused mentoring arrangement. The career mentor is in many ways similar, except it's a faculty member, and you'd meet just once a month. And again, this would be set up just between you and the career mentor. going maybe to that person's office, or again, it could be going out to coffee or something, but it's less frequent. It's maybe once a month. Again, sharing advice and wisdom, covering a range of topics, and again, they're really there to learn about you, what you're trying to accomplish, and figuring out what they can do to support you. The research mentor, again, it's more variable. It could be a grad student, it could be a faculty member. It's the person who's going to be working most side by side with you on the research project, and that would be more like weekly supervision, right? Training you on the research techniques, what you need to do, how the job is done, and it's providing that practical hands-on guidance. And so this is really not so much focused on you, because they have a project that needs to get done. And so it's really project focused, meaning that you are contributing to the success of the research. And so it's really about how to be successful and effective in that role. And so again, it's more skills focused than relationship focused. They need to make sure the job is getting done. Again, this is not to say it can't be turned into a great relationship. As you saw from Maya's map, her research mentor provided a lot of support across domains. So we're not restricting it to this, but this is the primary focus. So again, it sort of covers these bases roughly, right? So you have the research mentor, where it's more of a job situation, the peer mentor, again, more of a colleague, and the career mentor, who's kind of got the combination of both. So in addition to the NIH funding for all of the build sites that support programs like EXITO, NIH also funded the research and evaluation, I think it's the Coordination and Evaluation Center at UCLA that will be sending out all those surveys you keep hearing about. They also funded this group called the National Research Mentoring Network. And they support all of the build programs through a variety of things like mentor training curriculum, and there's a virtual platform so that you can get mentoring from experts around the country. And in fact, we have the new executive director of NRMN here with us today. He's talking to faculty members this afternoon. If we have a chance, we'll let him say something for this group. But just so you know, that the training that we provide for the mentors is based on this curriculum, emphasizes these kinds of areas. Mentors are selected and trained for their interpersonal skills, active listening, aligning expectations, building trusting relationships, and coaching. For their sponsorship skills, like Jennifer said, that's an important role. How they can promote your professional development, help you build your network, make connections, and help you figure out the balance between work and other responsibilities. We work with them on ways that they can help you develop your science identity and keep your motivation for the kind of research that you want to do, make you feel like you have a place in science and research, and know where to find those welcoming colleagues. And again, in a program like Build EXITO, we focus a lot on the training on issues around equity and inclusion, cultural self-knowledge, and reducing bias and stereotype threat, things like that. And then again, for the research mentors in particularly, how to provide the best technical training, how to promote ethical research, and things like that. So in terms of the timing, as you go through EXITO, then the career mentors will be matched when you go back to school in the fall. So we want to get that started right away. And then the research mentoring will start really next summer, when you do the induction and when you start your placement with the research learning community. Again, you don't necessarily have to wait for that. If there are faculty that are working on projects that are of interest to you, and during your first year of EXITO, you're more than welcome to and encouraged to volunteer to work with researchers on their projects, get an early start on that. So let me ask if you have any questions about what you've heard so far. Right, so the question was, are the career and academic advising combined? And so that's a great question. The career mentor is really, we could probably call this a faculty mentor, right? Because that's the key thing. This is a faculty member who can provide both kinds of advice. Can support your academic decisions around majors and courses and projects and things like that, but can also provide you some ideas about career planning. And so yeah, they are, again, multi-purpose. Now, EXITO also, under normal circumstances, has a designated academic advisor who is located here at PSU, but is available to scholars at all campuses. In the past, we had somebody named Charles Daniels. You might have heard of him. He did a fantastic job, but then went on to a different university. So we are in the process of hiring an academic advisor who can help you map out your plans, especially how to work in EXITO requirements with your major requirements, and is particularly helpful for navigating the transfer process. So he worked very closely with students from community colleges to help them plan for the transfer, and again, which credits would carry over and things like that, and the scheduling, and again, which term made sense to make the move. So career mentors can do some of that, but when it gets down to the real details about courses and credits and things like that, we should have an academic advisor to refer you to. We have some who are standing in right now, so we do have that covered, but we're trying to find our own EXITO advisor right now. There's somebody else? Oh, sorry. I'll get you next.
What if there are not appropriate faculty to meet our career interests in our school?
Yes, that's a great point. We do our best to find both career mentors and research mentors who are as closely matched to your field as possible. So for career mentors, for example, we try to do it by major, if about within major fields or specialties. But to the extent we can, we try to find somebody who's got a similar area of interest. Same thing with the research learning communities and your placement in an RLC. Again, we have a process for finding out about your interests and preferences, and when you look at the list of options for RLCs and what kind of research is being done, you can indicate where you hope to end up, and we do our best to match. But again, it may not be exactly your area of interest. So what we really emphasize is that you can still gain a lot from those experiences. You can still learn a lot about working on a research project, about how labs run, about the generalizable skills. So even if it's not precisely your area, you can still have a really rich experience that gives you great preparation. So we do our best to make the match that goes with your area of interest, but regardless of the match, you can probably get a lot out of it. Oh, okay. So the question was about how the mentoring matches are made. So Kay Logan, who's in the back and who's going to talk after the panel, is our mentoring coordinator. And so she does an amazing job of recruiting mentors and matching mentors, and then following up and monitoring how those relationships are going. So she will be the one to make the matches for the most part, especially at PSU. So you will get an email from her saying, here is your new mentor. And actually, after the panel, we're going to talk about some of those things for how to get started. So no, you don't have to go out and find your own mentor. We do that. We recruit them, we train them, and we match them up with you.
So because we're in the process of our getting a new academic advisor, if we have a question, who would we talk to? And if that question can't be answered by our representative of our community college or college.
For a lot of things, it is a good idea to start with your own site coordinator or director, and then, because they have the best understanding of who's mentoring on your campus or what the courses are, the majors are, things like that. Then they can connect you to the general program staff here at PSU if there are questions. So you would find on our website, of course, who's who. We also have a sort of Ask EXITO feature, so you can email and say, this is what I'm trying to do, or this is the question I have, and Jen reads those and makes referrals and makes sure that it gets to the right person so they can respond to you. But right now, when we don't have our official academic advisor, we do have these advisors from public health who are available for questions now. It's just that they're not as familiar with EXITO. But we can get you contact information.
There'll actually be an email going out. It's all drafted to you after orientation about advising specifically with Matthew, the financial advisor's email, and then these 4 public health people as well as some other resources to look into.
Yeah. So,
question over here. Do you have
okay. Yeah. Do you want to?
So much of me running, huh?
So besides the one class that we have to take this coming fall, is there more classes that we have to take for the Build EXITO program?
So yeah, that's a great question. In the first year, what is EXITO in the first year? One thing is the Gateway course, and again, that's offered at each site. That's where the faculty were yesterday. We were talking about the Gateway courses and how they're offered at each site. They look slightly different across sites in terms of how it's taught, whether it's EXITO only, whether it's a larger class, whether you get credit, whether not. So, and when it's taught, sometimes it's a fall term, sometimes it's a spring term. So the best information comes from your own faculty person about when and where and how that's offered. But everybody will take the Gateway course in the coming year. And then you would each have the peer and the career mentors, again, starting early in the school year. So you would be meeting with them on a regular basis during the course of the year. And then you've been hearing about these enrichment workshops. And again, that looks different on every campus. Sometimes it's a part of the Gateway course. So some Gateway courses are year-long. It's like a 1 credit every term. And so that's sort of the enrichment. Sometimes it's a course where there's a separate time to come together as EXITO scholars for workshops. So yes, it's hard to say because it's arranged a little bit differently on every campus.